video is the first in a few series of videos that we're going to talk about a theoretical lens through which we might read the text and might also write our autocartography essays. This one is called FeministPraxis, and there's a question mark at the end. It's developed from Launis and Hassel's FeministPraxis, which is in Threshold Concepts in Women and Gender Studies, Ways of Thinking, Seeing, and Knowing, Routledge 2015. And I want to spend a little bit of time unpacking some of these pieces which may or may not be familiar to you, and ask you then to think about how you might read through this lens and might apply these theoretical approaches in your own writing. So what does it mean to engage a feminist praxis? A praxis is a term that we often use in education. You might be familiar with it from the praxis exam, for instance. It is the intersection of theory and practice, involving a visible and deliberate set of actions informed by theory, research, and evidence. Although most effective activism meets this definition, not all feminist activism does. A feminist lens is a way in which we see something. So if you think about when you go to the eye doctor and you're getting a new prescription for glasses, and they put, I don't know what it's called, but they put this kind of frame over your face and they flip the lenses back and forth and they say, can you see better with 1, with 2, with 3, with 4? In this way, we are looking through a specific kind of lens, a feminist lens, but there are several other theoretical lenses I discussed in the Autocartography 101 video that we could look through. Some of the issues surrounding feminist theoretical approaches include gender inequality, social roles, expectations for men and women, reproductive rights, career access and/or workplace issues, oppression, patriarchy, sexuality, motherhood, and so forth. This is a selected bibliography of some key texts regarding feminist praxis, but in no way is it inclusive. I probably left out some very key people, and if I did, I apologize. I want to point your attention to really early texts, such as Mary Wollstonecraft's A Vindication of the Rights of Women, who essentially her primary argument focused on education. She argued that mothers who are caretakers of their children should be educated because their children would be the citizens of the next generation for a republic. And then I want to you can kind of scan down through here, and I want to move to, of course, Bell Hooks, which is one of your readings for this week. And I chose her reading specifically because when we talk about autocartography as a pedagogical approach, Gary Lemons references this particular text. And then I'd like you to take a look at Karen Warren in Ecofeminist Philosophy. There are multiple scholars now looking at ecofeminism, and we're going to be talking about kind of a eco-critical approaches as another lens in a following week. So when I think about a feminist praxis, I often associate it with Audrey and Rich's Diving into the Wreck. I've used this particular video production of the poem in multiple classes at multiple levels throughout my career, and it really is one of my favorites. So I hope you enjoy clicking on this and watching this production. There's also to the right a link to the text if you want to follow along with the poem, particularly if you're not familiar with the poem. I often ask students to I've done it a couple of ways, to not watch the video first, to listen to the poem, my reading of the poem, and then to essentially map out or draw a pictorial representation of this poem. The other way that I've talked about it, particularly in a Women and Gender Studies course, is we'll pull apart kind of key lines and think about how these key lines contribute to a feminist praxis, and this is what I'm going to do a little bit later in these slides. Launis and Hassel point to some kind of key points in a feminist praxis. critical thinking, empowerment and leadership. And I want to make sure that I clarify that empowerment here means a shared power and a power gained through knowledge. And this power is used then as empowerment to help others gain this knowledge. So it's kind of a reciprocal power. Community and community engagement, and connecting knowledge and experiences and applying knowledge for social transformation, which kind of keys into that empowerment piece as well. So here are some of the slides that I've used to kind of break down some of these concepts, and you'll see on the left-hand side are lines from the poem, and on the right-hand side are kind of some key points to think about. I'm going to read the key points, and please do connect this with the poem as we go. So to think critically, some of the lines in the poem, if we think about like words are purposes and words are maps, we have to unpack this, unpack the meaning of words and the arrangement of words and what they tell us when we're looking through a particular lens, and in this case a feminist lens. So some of the key things that we would be interested in a feminist praxis are the stripping away of naturalized ideas about men, women, gender, and sexuality. Re-examining assumptions about how gender operates both as a system and on an interpersonal level. Think about the differences between biological and social constructions of gender. Questioning privilege in order to examine oppression and inequality, and re-envisioning the world or calling into question previous assumptions. In the next piece, looking at finding a shared purpose through community. So you would want to look at a feminist praxis as developing a sense of communal identity, shared purpose, and collective values, translating that into action in the service of these shared goals, and focusing on the workplace, family, and neighborhoods. I feel like this particular category most applies to our reading, but you may see some connections in other categories as well. And then to use what we've learned for social transformation, engaging in action, research, or conscious raising projects. Again, this is a particular piece that probably you will start beginning to see connections if you're not already with the readings. Using an intersectional lens to approach a complex problem, and essentially intersectional theory, which was initially developed by bell hooks and unpacked in Black Feminist Thought by Patricia Hill Collins, and I talk about this in the autocartography video, but essentially as a reminder, the argument is that there is the possibility for oppression, particularly in four categories: class, race, gender, and sexuality, and that one of these may be privileged over the other, but they are always connected and you cannot separate these apart. The next piece is shifting our understanding of socially constructed gender norms, and then to construct and integrate knowledge with our own lived experiences and that of others. And this is a piece that, of course, autocartography does very well. This week, I challenge you to read our text with a feminist praxis lens and to incorporate feminist theoretical research into your autocartographical essay. So you could use Bell Hooks's piece that is in our reading this week, or you could use something from the bibliography I provided, or perhaps you already have research, feminist theory research, or something related to feminist praxis, and see where you find intersections between this particular theoretical lens and Janice Ray's memoir. Write about those intersections and think about what they reveal that may be different or similar to your previous readings of the memoir. I hope you have a wonderful week and good luck with your theoretical integration.